Fellas, we just had a really dominant title defense at UFC 299, so I feel like it's the perfect time to do the most dominant title defenses in recent history. Now, I've specifically done recent history, like from 2020 afterwards, considering, well, if this video was to go from below 2020, this video would probably be an hour long. So, specifically in the past, like 5-6 years, the most dominant title defenses. Now, there's been so many defenses, so if I've missed any out, let me know. And what I mean by a dominant title defense, I don't mean someone getting finished in the first round, so it has to get past at least the first round for it to count as a dominant title defense. But it's essentially just a defense where the champion has defended their belt by absolutely battering or dominating their opponent. So I've got a few examples here. Let me know if you agree. And we've got the first one. I'm just going to get it out of the way because it literally just happened this weekend, and I'm sure you're all sick of hearing about it. But Sean O'Malley versus Marlon Vera. There's no doubting that this is definitely one of the most dominant title defenses, because coming into this fight, I knew that Sean O'Malley was going to beat Vera, and I knew he was going to, batter him, but to do it in the fashion that he did, I thought it would be a little bit more competitive. I thought there'd be a few rounds where Marlon Vera wins, and outside of the body shot in the 5th round, there was nothing really significant that Marlon Vera landed. It was like he was a punching bag. It kind of reminded me of Max Holloway and Calvin Kattar, in the sense that, it was what's his name, Vera coming forward and taking a massive beating off Sean O'Malley. So Sean O'Malley versus Marlon Vera has to get on this list. It was 5 rounds of pure domination from Sean O'Malley, just battering Marlon Vera on the feet. And Marlon Vera is not even that bad on the feet. I know he usually tends to start slow, so I was expecting him to speed up in the 3rd round onwards, but that just didn't happen. Sean O'Malley's output was insane, and he just absolutely battered Marlon Vera for 5 rounds. So for the first example, it's got to be Sean O'Malley and Marlon Vera. He made Marlon Vera look like he shouldn't be anywhere near the title picture, and to be completely honest, he shouldn't, right? He got a title shot over a decision win over Munoz, and before that, he got dominated by Sandhagen as well, so it wasn't like he was the most deserving contender at the time, but I'm glad we've now erased Marlon Vera from the title picture. He's still dangerous, don't get me wrong. His head kick's insane. We saw what he did to Dominic Cruz and what he's done to previous opponents, but yeah, Marlon Vera, get him away from the title picture, because that was an absolutely dominating performance from Sean O'Malley, and one of Sean O'Malley's best career performances of all time by far. So I'm starting off with O'Malley and Vera. Next up, we've got one from a few years back, and it's Israel Adesanya versus Paulo Costa. Another example of, I don't think people are expecting it to go the way he did. Obviously, ended up finishing Paulo Costa, but coming into this fight, Paulo Costa was the undefeated. He was an undefeated contender that people honestly thought could take the belt away from Adesanya. Paulo Costa was dangerous. He was well-rounded, and leading up to the Adesanya fight, his fights were impressive with Costa's, and then Adesanya versus Costa happens, and Costa gets absolutely battered. His legs were getting chewed up. He was getting caught everywhere. Adesanya looked untouchable until eventually Adesanya was able to finish Paulo Costa. This was a real big title defense. This kind of proved, and ever since this fight, Costa hasn't really been the same. Obviously, lost to Marvin Vettori after he missed weight as well, and his only win since then was a win over Luke Rockhold, which wasn't that impressive because it was a retiring Luke Rockhold with no chin, and even then Luke Rockhold made it competitive. And then he did look good against Robert Whittaker, but the point is, this fight, he got absolutely battered. His legs got chewed up. He had no route to beating Adesanya. Couldn't out-grapple Adesanya, and definitely couldn't outstrike him because Adesanya's kickboxing was elite. Definitely one of Adesanya's best title defenses and one of his best performances. And I feel like this was definitely the start of Adesanya running things in the middleweight division, because again, this fight really showed how good Adesanya was at middleweight. So I'm going Adesanya versus Costa. Costa looked, I don't know if it was just Costa looking terrible or Adesanya just going out there and looking amazing, because he really battered him and then ended up getting the finish, which is just the cherry on top after all of this. So I'm going with Paulo Costa versus Israel Adesanya. And it kind of pushed Paulo Costa far away from a title shot, especially after his performances before this fight. It actually looked quite impressive, his fights with, Yo Romero. But this fight specifically definitely wasn't going in Costa's way. So I'm going to win Adesanya versus Costa. The next title defense. Now, there's so many you can go for Alexander Volkanovski, but the one I've chosen is Korean Zombie. I was either going to go with this one or the Max Holloway trilogy, because again, Max Holloway was insane, but I feel like it was kind of unfair throwing Korean Zombie in. Now, I don't think he was scheduled to be the original opponent. I'm pretty sure it was supposed to be the Holloway trilogy, but then Holloway pulled out, so they brought in Korean Zombie. But Korean Zombie was never meant to be in there against Alexander Volkanovski. In fact, he was actually going to retire in his next fight, which he did against Max Holloway, did Korean Zombie. Yeah, this was absolutely brutal to watch. Holloway went out there and battered him. absolutely battered him everywhere. The grappling, when he was taking him down and beating him with ground and pound, landing takedowns, and then on the feet, it was just hard to watch. After it got past the first and second round, it was genuinely hard to watch because he was putting an absolute beating on the Korean Zombie until Herb Dean literally had to step in and say, listen, you've put a massive beating on Korean Zombie. We need to stop the fight right now. You know, you've battered him too much. And it was brutal to watch it because I don't think anyone expected Korean Zombie to have a chance in this fight. It was probably one of the worst kind of substitutes they brought in for Max Holloway. Korean Zombie didn't land anything significant. He looked like a punching bag in there. Even though he wanted to put up a good fight, I will admit, he came to scrap. He came to put up a good fight and win gold. But yeah, it was just the terrible timing of it. An old Korean Zombie especially, and putting him in there against prime Volkanovski was never the right thing to do, especially a Volkanovski that was training for Holloway. Holloway went out there, battered him in every asset of every martial art, and yeah, Korean Zombie just looked like he shouldn't be anywhere near the title picture, which is ironic because they fed him to Max Holloway in the next fight. So I'm going Korean Zombie versus Volkanovski, but there's a few you can choose for Volkanovski. You can choose the Yair Rodriguez fight, like I said, the Max Holloway trilogy. Volkanovski, in his title run, he was just that good. So yeah, Volkanovski, Korean Zombie. Next fight, we've got a female fight, and it's Amanda Lemos versus Zhang Weili. This happened, I think it was UFC 292, so it was quite recent. Yeah, this was absolutely... And I've heard a lot of people disrespecting Zhang Weili, saying they don't want to watch her on UFC 300. But if we can see Zhang Weili go out there and absolutely dominate these strawweights continuously, sign me up. Zhang Weili is so good for a female fighter. In fact, you look at the statistics against Amanda Lemos. Zhang Weili landed 163 significant strikes compared to Amanda Lemos's 24. She landed 6 takedowns compared to Amanda Lemos's 0. This fight was absolutely dominating from Zhang Weili. And Amanda Lemos ain't even a bad fighter in the female, you know, in the women's weight classes. It wasn't like coming into this fight, she should have got destroyed. She was coming off 2 finishes. And then she goes in there against Zhang Weili. And Zhang Weili recently has just shown how far ahead she is compared to the rest of the strawweights. She absolutely battered Amanda Lemos. It wasn't even close. The amount of significant strikes she landed, the fact that she ragdolled her in grappling. Amanda Lemos couldn't get going. She couldn't beat her in any martial art. And yeah, Zhang Weili was just so much more well-rounded. She was beating her when it came to grappling, the ground and pound on the feet. It wasn't even close. And it was just pure domination from Zhang Weili. So I've included this female fight in there. I think it deserves a mention because watching this at UFC 292, if you're an Amanda Lemos fan, I don't know why there would be any. I think it's a bit of a random person to be a fan of. But if you are a fan of Amanda Lemos, that's got to be hard to watch because Zhang Weili went out there and absolutely dominated there. And then finally on this list, I've gone for Aljamain Sterling versus TJ Dillashaw. Now, I was quite hesitant in including this one in the list at first because it was an injured TJ Dillashaw, but there was a lot of people picking Dillashaw to win. There was a lot of people thinking Dillashaw after his long layoff. I know he fought Sandhagen in 2021, but people thought, you know, when he was coming back to fight, what's his name, Aljamain Sterling, he could have slept Sterling. You know, this massive history he's had in the bantamweight division, and then he's going in there against a guy of Aljamain Sterling, whose only title win at this point, previous to the injury, was a controversial win over Peter Yan. And then Aljamain Sterling goes out there, and I didn't expect this from Sterling. He takes him down pretty flawlessly, and his ground and pound for that first round was absolutely dominated. It did end in the second round due to TJ Dillashaw's injury, and that definitely played a part in the fight. But I mean, TJ Dillashaw knew he was going to be injured walking into the fight. I think he said he got injured. His arm got injured 60 times leading up to this fight. So for Aljamain Sterling to go out there and beat the absolute crap out of TJ Dillashaw, the ground and pound was brutal. It looked like TJ Dillashaw shouldn't have been anywhere near a title. Probably should have retired before that fight rather than after. Yeah, he took a beating in that fight. Aljamain Sterling cemented himself as the bantamweight champion, and that was again another dominating performance from Aljamain Sterling. But yeah, that is my list of a few of the most dominating title defenses in recent history. Let me know if I've missed any out because there's been a lot of title defenses, so it's probably easy to miss a few out. So let me know if I've missed any out. And yeah, thank you for watching.